Welcome, Tech It Up with Jessica Lee. I'm here with Alan Beers, who's the Senior Director of Customer Success at Greenhouse. Welcome to the show, Alan.
Thanks, Jessica. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Love to have you on the show because I think that during this challenging time, your software, which is a recruiting platform, is very useful in helping companies to make sure that they are achieving those diversity and inclusion corporate goals. Please tell
Absolutely.
us what's new, what's different about your technology.
Yeah, I mean, it's a suite of technology. So first and foremost, we're an applicant tracking system, but we're also a CRM that our customers use for sourcing. We have an onboarding tool for after candidates get hired, create a really great onboarding experience for a new employee. And then you mentioned diversity and inclusion. We have an inclusion product that essentially helps combat bias in the hiring process. And that's part of the applicant tracking system tool. So it's this whole suite of products that really helps people, get great at hiring and helps our companies get great at hiring.
What's the benefit of using your solution? I know you talk about that being a very structured process. So walk us through how does that apply now and how does that help companies?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of our biggest differentiators. And we were sort of first to the market with a product that focused on things like candidate experience, as well as the experience that a recruitment team, an interviewer, a hiring manager has as they're trying to get the best talent into their organization. And that's really done through structured hiring. So if you dive into the tool, essentially interviewers understand every time they walk into an interview exactly what they're supposed to ask, the key attributes that they're trying to extract from that interview process, and a real understanding of the data that they're looking for to make the best hire and have the best interaction with that candidate. So you have a whole host and a team of people that make a really great experience for a candidate. And also extract the data that they need to make that key decision.
Now, I know that this time you've got a lot of clients who are growing, but you have a lot of clients who are not growing.
Right.
Has the environment affected your customer acquisition?
Yeah, I mean, I think it has like any other company. One thing that we did on the customer success side that I was pretty proud of is when COVID began to crop up rather, we really sort of dug into our customer base to figure out what types of companies, which of our clients were most impacted by what was happening, which ones were sort of neutral and it wasn't impacting their big business much, and then which customers were actually thriving through the pandemic. And we took a bunch of that data. We had a lot of conversations with those customers to understand what they needed during this time and what was going to make them successful. We put together playbooks for our customer success team to deliver. And we actually went out and delivered that help to the customers in their time of need. And we were able to hold on to a lot of our customers, even some of those that were unfortunately struggling, and still provide a lot of value through our product and our customer success efforts for those clients.
One of the challenges I feel companies have with adopting new technology is just there's a shift in the culture and there's a shift in expectations. So when you have a software that's very structured, it requires people to follow some process. And
Right.
how do you help them overcome the hesitation to embrace?
Yeah. Well, I think what was interesting with some of the help that we gave to our customers during this COVID period is we found that a lot of our clients had that downtime to implement processes that they never could before. So as hiring slowed down, they were really able to dig into Greenhouse as their applicant tracking system and say, you know what, the processes that we've rolled out, the way we're going about hiring really isn't aligned with our mission. We were never able to take it structurally and mirror what our ambitions were inside the tool. So that was one of the big plays that we ran, is how can we help customers take their ambitions of having a data-driven structured hiring process and actually finally implement that in the system now that they have some downtime and that hiring is slowed down. So that's a lot of the work that we've been doing with our customers right now. Previously to COVID, that was also work that we were doing. It involves a lot of change management. But the problem is when customers are in a hiring boom, they don't have as much time to dig deeply into the system and create those processes. So that was one benefit that came from having a little bit of a down period for some of our customers, is getting organized in the system.
So you provide the professional services to help them adopt the technology and implement the best practices to overcome those changes internally.
Yeah, a lot of that's actually done through the customer success organization, but we do have a professional services department where if you have customers who need a little bit extra handholding, or perhaps they don't know where to start with implementing those changes, or larger organizations that are complex, we have offerings where they can work with a strategic consultant to help them through that process and that change management strategy.
Okay, I want to ask for your tips on the customer success front. I know that some success folks have a quota and they have a bonus tied to retention or other KPIs, and wanted to get your thoughts on it because I know your incentives plan is a bit different than what the industry tend to offer.
Yeah, I think that this is almost kind of the classic debate within the customer success world is, do you want your customer success team to lean more sales and revenue heavy, or are they going to be more on the strategy and technical side? For Greenhouse, we're somewhere right in the middle. We have a pretty complex product, very intuitive for users, but under the hood for ops people, there's a lot that you can do. And that requires a lot of strategic conversations and planning with the customer success team to be able to do that right. So we've always indexed on having a lot of customer success people, have them not primarily focused on upsell, but focused on having the customer adopt and making them successful in that moment. So they're having a good experience with our product and with our services. So unlike some other companies where a customer success team might have a heavy quota and they're responsible for overall upsell and net retention, we focus mainly on gross retention for our customer success team. And then we partner with an account management team that's responsible for net retention and upsell.
What have you done on the adoption side that seems to work really well you want to share as a tip on how to get customers to adopt?
Yeah, I think it starts with having a really strong implementation process. So if you rewind back 5 or 6 years ago, our customer success team also did implementation. And I think it starts with building that really strong foundation. Since then, we've moved implementation to a dedicated team. So we have implementation specialists now that handle that. They live in our professional services department. But if you set up the system right from the onset, and all of the users have the right expectations and they understand the value that they can extract from using the tool, as well as what their expectations are of their leadership team and the processes that they've created, now all you have to do is continuous improvement and training for new folks who join the organization. So I think that's something we've leaned really heavily into, is having a strong implementation process to kick customers off right. And then post-implementation, really digging into where are they on the maturity curve? Are they chaotic? Are they inconsistent? Are they systematic? Or are they all the way up here at strategic? And we have sub-metrics that we look at that help us determine that. And depending where they are on that maturity curve, we have different strategies and techniques that we can take to them to help them improve their hiring processes.
Alan, circling back, I want to dig in a little bit more about your technology. Given people are very interested in improving their diversity, inclusion, and belonging metrics. Um, Explain to me specifically, how does your product help?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we talked a little bit about the inclusion product earlier. Um, and something that comes to mind is our nudges feature, which we've actually moved it from inclusion and given it to all of our customers during this time period. Um, and basically, these are like timely reminders that help change behaviors in the moment. They help customers to remember to engage, in efforts to disrupt unconscious bias and hopefully promote inclusion. So like a couple of examples, you can be an application review as a recruiter. You're going through, you're looking at a bunch of applications, and the nudge or the notification will say, try not to make a snap judgment. Focus on specific attributes outlined for the role, for example. Likewise, you're filling out a scorecard. You're an interviewer, you're trying to maintain objectivity. It'll say something along the lines of, remember to focus on job relevant qualifications. Write down how the candidate performs against those qualifications. So it's these little reminders that can change the behavior of the interviewer and radically change the experience that the candidate is having. The other thing that I'll point out there is outside of the inclusion product itself in our core product, having a structured interviewing process in place also helps with inclusion goals. So if you're making a data-driven decision and you're not making a hiring decision based primarily on emotion, which a lot of people do, and that's not a knock on interviewers, it's just, if you don't have a structured process in place, it's easy to say, I like this person, or they also like fishing and I like fishing, so I'm going to hire that person so we can talk about fishing. Like that happens every day.
Yes.
We try really hard to give our customers the tools to hire somebody because they're actually qualified for the position. So
Yeah.
if you think about rating a candidate against attributes, you can go in.
And you mentioned how when you rate someone a thumbs up or thumbs down or right. number, you actually have to kind of explain why you gave that score, right? It's a mandatory box.
Precisely. So if I give a candidate a thumbs down, earlier on in the product, that was it. You give the thumbs down. You could put notes in if you want to, but it wasn't sort of like a forced mechanism to have the interviewer think about why they rated the candidate in that way. Now, we kind of force the interviewer to put their evaluation in against that attribute because it makes you stop and think. And when we first rolled this out, I realized how lazy I was in the recruiting process. I would give people a thumbs down, and when I would challenge myself to think about why, I didn't always have a great answer, admittedly. And it actually changed my behavior about how closely I paid attention to the attributes and what I really wanted to extract from that interview process. So it really helps.
Yeah, very interesting. And thanks for sharing that, because I think that's very common, right? If you're forced to really write down and explain yourself, then it makes you double check yourself, and then you actually might correct that score that you gave.
Well, and the last piece that I'll say is after you're done with the entire interview process, let's say that you've interviewed 10 quality candidates, and you're sitting down at the roundup, you have the hiring manager there, you have interviewers, you've got the recruiters, and you're all talking about these candidates. If you don't have a structured hiring process in place, again, it goes back to like your memory. I kind of remember this about a candidate and I liked this person. And again, the emotion starts to crop up versus a data-driven decision. With Greenhouse, you actually have those scorecards all in front of you. And it's really tidy. You can see every single one of the candidates, every one of the ratings that each interviewer gave. And you can say, based on data and based on the facts of these interviews, this candidate objectively is the best. Do we all agree? If yes, let's hire that person. And that gets you the best talent versus hiring on purely emotion.
I like that. I think it's a great product, and certainly would help people out there who are trying to achieve certain corporate goals. And I assume you are using the product internally to do your own hiring?
Of course. Yes, of course. So everybody at Greenhouse is trained on Greenhouse. And I think that's one of the strengths of our company. We hire really good people. And it's kind of a core tenet of our culture.
And you are hiring in EMEA, I hear?
Yeah, we're likely going to be opening up a role in EMEA for a leadership position soon. So we just opened our office in Dublin at the beginning of the year, and we've been staffing it ever since. We have a GM out there. We have some customer success folks and sales folks, and it's time to hire some leadership out there. So we're going to be doing that. And then I have an opening for my team. I actually have a senior manager for our enterprise segment. If anybody out there is interested or has a good referral,
Yes.
hit me up on LinkedIn.
All right. Well, wonderful. Thanks for being on the show to talk about your technology and the recruiting, the application tracking, and how that helps companies, specifically about also how you can achieve better diversity inclusion metrics using a structured way of hiring. So thanks, Alan, for being on the show.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate it. Take care.
There you have it. Take it up with Jessica Lee, Alan Beers from Greenhouse.